Happy Friday, everybody. I hope everybody had a great week. Today is October 1st, 2021. It is the first day of the last quarter of the year, and this is your Friday planning video. So we've been talking a lot. We've been talking about planning for over a year now on these videos, and I wanted to focus the next few weeks on a list of ideas, actionable items that we can do before the end of this year. So as we move into the fourth quarter, keep an eye out on these. Come back every week. It's a pretty long list. I'm going to try to break it up and keep these videos short, but come back every week for at least the next couple of weeks and see what those are. So let's just jump in. Let's get going. First, and this one could be it's entirely its own video, but we'll make it just item one for now. Review your year and your progress towards your goals. Now, the last part of that comment is the most important. It's the progress to your goals that you really need to focus on. I heard from a new client that recently joined our practice recently, and I heard a comment that she said, I have no idea how I'm doing. And you can imagine that just made me cringe, because that's one of the most important things, because as Yogi Berra said, if you don't know where you're going, you might end up somewhere else. And that's really the key, right? So we need to know this is not just limited to your returns, but also your returns for the year, obviously, your investments in your financial plan and how those have done and how they've weathered this crazy year. Again, I could go on for a long time on this, but we'll move on to the next one. Let's see what else we've got. Number 2, let's talk about cash. Really, let's talk about cash. How's your cash flow doing? Do you have extra cash that you can put towards either a rainy day fund or increase your retirement planning? So again, I've got some ideas on if you've got some problems keeping an eye on this, but check your bank statements, check your credit card statements. Let's just know where your money's going every month. And if you've got extra that you can put towards your goals, let's talk about those as well. Okay, next is that rainy day fund. Do you have one? Most everyone should have one of those. We call it the emergency fund. The amounts are going to vary wherever they are, but it is something you should consider starting now or adding to it at this point in time. Let's hit an old favorite. Make sure you're on track to max out your IRA or your employer retirement plan. Now, again, you don't have to do that all at one time. You can do that for the employer plans. You've got until the end of the year, and for IRAs, you can do that until April 15th of next year. But definitely keep an eye on that, see if you're on track to do that. Another one you've heard here before, it's time to check your life insurance policies. Now, again, we've always talked about on these videos, we've talked about making sure that your beneficiaries are correct. But here's 2 other items. Number 1, has your health changed considerably? If you've made changes in your life to make your health better, maybe you can get better insurance. Lower prices on that might be worth it for that. But also, if you made major life changes, have you gotten married? Have you had children? These are things that might change your insurance needs and something you should take a look at. While we're looking at insurances, let's talk about homeowners and auto policies. Maybe a good time to get them requoted. It's usually a pretty easy thing to do. Just make a call or two, and you could save some money. Based on a few client experiences, not to mention my own, I will tell you might want to talk to the insurance company about your flood coverage. This is a big deal, and it is something that's sort of hidden in all that, so you definitely want to make sure that you know what that is. And watch out, you may need special riders for high value items such as jewelry or art, so keep an eye on that as well. It's a great time to connect with a great property and casualty insurance agent to talk you through some of that stuff and walk through that with you. As we enter the final quarter, it's also a good time to pull your credit report. There's so much going on with identity theft and cybercrime recently. This is where you're going to find a lot of that, or it's certainly a possibility of finding that. It's a great way to keep an eye on that. Finally, for today, let's actually look at the accounts that you have here and elsewhere if you have them, and decide if it makes sense to make some changes for tax purposes. If you have any investment losses in the account, and yes, I know it's hard to believe, but yes, some stocks actually do go down. If you have any losses in the account, it may be prudent to make those sales before the end of the year. They may offset gains that you have, and they also may be able to offset actual income that you have. Again, remember, we don't give specific tax advice, but we work with your tax advisors to get you set up on this, but it is something to take a look at. Okay, that's a big list for today. More next week. I'm sure we'll do more as we get towards the end of the year. As the pandemic's been going for now almost 2 years, there's a lot to do, even more than before. What I want to do is keep in the front of your mind some of these items and maybe work together to get some of these done. So there's no shortage of market action to talk about either. So certainly tune in on Monday for our market update report. And again, as always, feel free to forward this video on to friends and family. It may actually help them as well as they get towards the end of the year. As always, please call me with any questions. Let's set up times to meet, and let's review some of these actions before we get to the end of the year. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week.